Today we are going to see about Apache PI with Selenium Webdriver. Apache PI is widely used for API or Selenium database testing. It's a PI library written in Java that gives a user an API for manipulating the Microsoft documents like .xlx and .xlsx. If you are using a Microsoft Excel 2003, then we can manipulate the .xls files. If the Microsoft Excel version is above 2007, then we can manipulate the .xls files. Apache PI uses certain terms to work with Microsoft Excel. In Excel, where you can see a workbook, sheet, a row, and cell. A workbook represents a Microsoft Excel file, can be used for creating, manipulating these spreadsheet. Your workbook may contain many sheets. Sheet is like refer to the page of the Microsoft Excel file that contains a number of rows and columns. A row represents a column of a cell, which is used to represent a row in the spreadsheet. Cell is indicated by the row and column combination. Data entered by the user is stored in a cell. Data can be of the type of like string, numeric value, or formula. Interfaces and classes in Apache PI. Interfaces are like workbook, sheet, row, and cell. If you are using MS 2003 lesser version, then left-hand side of the classes like XSF workbook, XSF sheet, and XSF row and XSF cell will be used. And if the my MS version is 2007 and above, the right-hand side of the classes will be used. XSF workbook, XSF sheet, and XSF row and XSF cell. We will see a sample scenario how we need to integrate Excel with the Selenium, and will execute multiple scenario. So say for an example, so we have a test data where we are passing a different name, email ID, and password and gender with the data birth that we are passing in a UI. So this is a web page, and we are passing a registration form with the name, email, password, and we are doing for a multiple scenario. We are going to see how this is happening, and then I will explain how it is working on the behind. So let's execute and see. And you can see 4 cases passed. So if we check the Excel sheet over here, we are passing 4 different combination of records and to check whether the functionality is working, like with a different name and with a gender and with a different birth date we are trying to pass, and we are checking whether all this user data is able to pass it over there or not. So let's see how the code works now. Okay. So before we start, we need to add a dependency. So so here you can see 2 dependency I've added. One is Apache PI with 5.2.2 and Apache PI XML 5.2 we can change it to. So once you save it, you can see an dependency will be added. Yes, it's added. So we'll create one sample project. I already created one, and I'll try to create one more project on that top. I'll put it as a demo. So the right before. Import from TestNG, and you need to have a TestNG dependency to be included. So I've used a TestNG 7.7, and your Selenium I'm using 4.8.1. So I've saved, and then S case 01. So we launch the site and now we need to, so this page comes in a frame. If you refresh this page, if you check here, so if you inspect, comes under a frame. So this is entire body and it comes in a frame. So we have to switch into a frame and then we need to pass the value frame index 0. So now it will switch to the index. Before that we need to pick that one. So WebDriver dot find element by dot registration. Class name is registration. Class name dot So now we are into the page and we are into the frame and now we need to pass the value. So name, so ID is name. So WebDriver dot find element by ID and piece. So we are going to pass a value for that. Same, let me name, email, password, and confirm password, then gender. Actually, for gender, we need to click and date of birth. And date of birth, same piece, and finally, WebDriver. So we need to pass a value for this one. So now to pass the value, initially what we can say is Ravi, we can say email Ravi at best.com, password 1 2 where we confirm on 1 2 where we gender as a male, birthday format is to gender is based on male. Okay, so it's correct. Male, and click, and then date of birth DDMMYY DD 10 19. So now if we launch this one, we're changing that all into a Chrome where Edge is having some error, and in this part, this has to be given. It's mandatory as of now, and this will save. And now we will execute and see how it works. And you can see the data has been filled. The browser is getting still open, so we close this browser after the execution. @ after class close application. Now this is for a single data. What I want to do in a multiple data. All the time we need to create. We need to pass multiple data. So there is one more option is by using Dataprovider with the integration to the Apache PI. You can pass the data. So we are going to do such a way. So what we are going to do is we need to create a data provider, and the provider name we will say datas, and we'll say public. We are creating an object two-dimensional array. Read data. So data provider we need to import, and this will be our we need to call the data provider over here. So now we need to call the XSF workbook workbook call to XSF workbook new file input stream. This we will read the place where we have our Excel sheet. Okay, so whereas our Excel sheet is under okay, so here is our Excel sheet resources test data testing. So src slash test slash resources testing.xlsx. First, we need to read the size of the. We need to read a number of rows and columns in that. So for that we need to call the excess of sheet where book dot get sheet at. So we are taking the first index of the sheet, and from there we need to identify the number of rows is equal to get physical number of rows and number of columns equal to sheet dot get row in the first row number of columns, get the last cell number. So this way we get the number of rows and column. Now we need to start iterating. Now we need to start reading the data from the Excel. So what we need to do is for in I equal to 0, I less than number of rows minus 1, because the number of rows count will be 4, and we can read from 0 to 3 only. So I plus 4 and j equal to 0, j less than number of columns j plus plus. So this one we need to start reading the data. So before that we need to create an object array, object obj equal to new object. So here number of rows so here obj equal to I plus I and j. Here we need to call the sheet. You need to call the row and then column. So row will be your I, and then get cell integer, and j will be your column. Get string cell value. So we are taking the cell value. Now before that we are going to use a data formatter. So what is the use of this classes? If there is any string value or date format is there, it will convert into a string, and then by using that we can uh, use the value. That's what we are using data format there. By using data format, or itself. We are giving I plus 1. Reason to give I plus 1 is we need to read the data from the second row. So we are adding, increasing the row. So here the row starts with the 0 and we want the second row to be read. So we are adding I plus 1. The cell is from the this column. So this value will be pulled from there. First row you are saying, first you are finding the row, and second your j will be your cell value where exactly you are going to read. So now object is returned, and then now we are saying return obj. So now you are returning that one. So now we need to pass that value. So how do we pass this? String name, string email, string password, string confirm password, password, string gender, string data. That's it. So we need to pass this value over here. Name, email, password, confirm password, and gender. So you need to pass the gender over here. The value will be clearly placed on the date of birth. So now we are passing. Now the iterator will, now the data provider will read all the data and will pass one after the other. So let's see how this is going to work. There is one failure. The difference is here it is data, here it is data. Now we will execute and see. It's skipped. Why it is skipped? System cannot find the file specifiers. src test resource testing.xls. Test resources. Yes. And inside that you have a test data is there. Test data hash. So now we will execute. Okay, there is a fail. It says cannot store the object array. Okay. Okay, we say number of rows and we say number of columns. And when you store number of rows here, it should be -1. And this row should start with a 0 and 1 space lesser. Favorite. Execute. Okay, so here it is working. 4 test case passed. So let's see one more time. What we are doing is, so we are creating a before setup, and in the before setup, I'm using a Chrome options to load this one. There was an error that has been going up in the Chrome, and I've been added this one. And by using the Chrome, I'm launching the site. So I'm using the registration page. So this is a registration page. I'm clicking and going to the frame and switch to the frame. And once I switch to the frame, I need to pass the value. How I'm passing is by using the data provider. I'm reading the data from the Excel by using one. First, my intention is to find the workbook. So find the workbook by using the file name. You find the where the workbook is there, and then find the sheet. You are taking the first sheet that the index is 0. So you are taking the first sheet of the workbook, and then you are identifying number of rows on that and number of columns. By using this sheet, get physical number of rows, we will get the number of rows and column. You get the by using get the row, first row in the number of and the last cell number in the first row. What is the last cell number? So you get the row and column by using the object array. So you are assigning the memory, and this data formatter is used for when whatever it's a integer, date, or decimal points, and that will be converted into a string, and it will be reformatted. So that's what we are using in formatter classes. For that we are creating an object, and with that we are converting that into formatted cell value, and we are returning. So this iterate will have this all this four data, and whenever this test data has been called, all this test will be executed. So we'll execute one more time and see. Okay, that's it.